So if everybody can open up their scriptures for me, 3rd Nephi chapter 1. Now I know this is a little weird because our, how much you're saying right? 3rd by Sophie. This is a little bit weird because we're jumping because they're doing teacher rotations this week. But let's look at, we'll look, as we look at chapter 1, and it'll all start to come together a little bit. So I want you to think about someone that you know or someone that you have read about or heard about that has sacrificed their life for the gospel. Can we name a few of them? Yeah, Maddie.
Joe. That's it.
What?
The guy that lost everything?
Oh, Job. I thought you said
Yeah.
Joe. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know who that is. Okay. Yeah.
Benedict.
Abinadi. Okay. Anybody else? Kind of, Jace?
Was it like that cool dude that like threw the spear dudes? Was it Tianco or something like that, or Coriantimer or something like that? I don't know. He was the baller. He like jumped. He jumped while they were sleeping, and he threw his spear, and he got this guy in the heart. But then the second time he tried to do it, he like barely missed his heart, and then the dude waked up his guards, and then his guards killed him.
He killed like
Why do I not
2 big
remember
guys.
It's like the coolest part of the whole bunch of more.
Okay, sorry. All right. Anybody else? Can you think of anyone else? Yeah.
Jesus.
Jesus Christ, obviously. Okay. So, why do you think that these people are willing to make such a sacrifice?
Believed in the greater good. It was seeing.
Well, so they had strong faith that it was worth it.
Yeah, they had the faith that it was worth it. So I wonder, how do you think you would respond if you were in the situation where you would have to give your life for the gospel? Just think about that. Okay, so 5 years after Samuel the Lamanite, you all have heard about Samuel the Lamanite. He stands and preaches in Zarahemla up on the wall. A group of faithful Nephites had faced this possibility of death because of their beliefs. So today, as we're studying, I want you to look for what we can learn from the Nephites about how we can act in a situation that might be less than ideal. Okay, so let's look at verses 1 through 3. And I want you to just scan them, and I want you to look for who was given the sacred records and where he went. Or where the person who gave the sacred records went. Yeah, Kate.
I think it was Nephi that got the sacred records, and then he left, but no one knows where he went.
So Nephi got the sacred records from his father Helaman. Helaman left, and no one knows exactly where he went, okay? So let's take turns reading from verses 4 through 9. And I want you to look for the challenges that the Nephites faced, the faithful Nephites had faced. So let's start. We'll do Courtney 4, Sophie 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Allie, you can read for me. Okay.
And it came to pass that in the commencement of the 92nd year, behold, the prophecies of the prophets began to be fulfilled more fully. For there began to be greater signs and greater miracles wrought among the people.
But there were some who began to say that the time was past for the full words to be fulfilled, which were spoken by Samuel the prophet.
They began to rejoice over their brethren, saying, Behold, the time is past, and the words of Samuel are not fulfilled. Therefore your joy and your faith concerning this thing hath been done.
And it came to pass that they did make a great uproar throughout the land, and the people who believed began to be very sorrowful, lest by any means those things which had been spoken might not come to pass.
But behold, they did watch steadfastly for that day and that night, and that day which should be as one day as a first night, that they might know that their faith had not been made.
Now it came to pass that there was a day set apart by the unbelievers, that all those who believed in those traditions should be put to death, except the sign should come to pass, which had been given by Samuel the prophet.
Okay, so what were some of the challenges that they faced from these scriptures? Yeah, Kate.
They were kind of ridiculed.
They were ridiculed. Yeah, for sure. Anything else? Did anybody see anything else?
Yeah, sorrowful.
They were sorrowful, yeah. So like they have this kind of bitter experience that, you know, they're being ridiculed for their beliefs, and that maybe they might have a little fear in that. Why do you think some people might struggle to remain faithful in a situation like this? Yeah, right.
They were threatening their lives.
Yeah, their lives were being threatened. Why might that dissuade you?
I don't want to die.
Yeah, because you don't really, nobody really wants to die, right? I mean, not in a really cruel way. Okay, so let's look at verses 10 through 12, and I have a few volunteers to read. So let's start, Brooklyn, can we start with you? So can you read 10, Maddie 11, and Kay 12? And I want you to look for what Nephi did during this time.
Sorry, my voice sounds terrible. Now it came to pass that when Nephi, the son of Nephi, saw this wickedness of his people, his heart was exceedingly sorrowful.
And it came to pass that he went out and bowed himself down upon the earth and cried mightily to his God in behalf of his people, yea, those who were about to be destroyed because of their faith in the tradition of their fathers.
And it came to pass that he cried mightily unto the Lord all that day, and behold, the voice of the Lord came unto him, saying.
Okay, so how does Nephi respond to this bad situation? What's his instinct? Yeah.
To pray.
To pray, right? Why do you think that this was his response? Yeah.
It's like he knew that Heavenly Father would like protect his children who were being faithful.
Yeah, he knew, he had a testimony that Jesus Christ and Heavenly Father would protect those who were struggling with this and being persecuted. So let's read verses 13 and 14, and I want you to look for the Lord's answer to Nephi's prayer. So let's start, can we start with you, Ian? Can you read verse 13, and maybe we'll read 14?
Lift up your head and be of good cheer, for behold, the time is at hand, and on this night shall the sign be given. And on the morrow I will lie into the world to show unto the world that I will fulfill at that which I have caused to be spoken by the mouth of my holy prophets.
Behold, I come unto mine own, to fulfill all things which I have made known unto the children of men from the foundation of the world, and to do the will both of the Father and of the Son, and of the Father because of me, and of the Son because of my flesh. And behold, the time is at hand, and this night shall the sign be given.
Okay, so what did the Lord say he would show unto the world?
Sign.
The sign, okay? So I want you to think about for a second this principle that the Lord will fulfill all the words that he has caused to be spoken by his prophets. So I want you to think about that for a second. How does that tie into what we're talking about right here? Yeah, Katie.
Well, it kind of relates to their faith again, because like people were kind of losing their faith after like everyone was like saying like the time has already passed, it's not going to happen. But here it's saying that if the Lord has said there will be a sign, then there's going to be a sign, whether it comes earlier or later than you expected.
Right, absolutely. Thanks, Katie. So I want you to mark the scriptures, and I want you to kind of summarize that principle and put it next to your scriptures, okay? Just take a minute and do that, and then we're gonna divide up into groups. Okay, so let's get into pairs. So whoever you're sitting next to can just be your partner. And I want you to read with your partner 3 Nephi chapter 1 verses 15 and then 19 through 21. And I want you to look for phrases that illustrate that the Lord fulfills the words of his prophets, okay? So go ahead and take a few minutes and do that.
And it came to pass that the Lord which came unto
all things everywhere according to the words of the prophet.
And it came to pass also that in your started
Okay, so just take like 30 more seconds and wrap that up. Make sure you're finding phrases that show that, okay? Okay, so what are some phrases that you found that illustrate that the Lord fulfills his words to the prophets? Okay, let's start. We're going to start in the front and then kind of move around. Okay, go ahead, guys.
Just the part in 15 when it says the words which came unto Nephi were fulfilled according as they had been spoken.
Okay, awesome. That was one I picked up too. Alex, did you have one? Or sorry, Radley, did you have one as well?
Yeah, so it was leading at 20.
Okay.
It said, and it came to pass, yea, all things every whit according to the words of the prophets.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Okay, Alex, did you have one?
Yeah, you did.
Oh, sorry. Jeez.
Anyone said the new star appeared according to the word.
Yeah, the new star appeared according to the word. Maddie, did you have one?
That was mine.
Okay, did anybody else see any others? They thought. Okay, so how do you think you would have felt if you had been among the believers at this time? This new star appears. How are you feeling? You're feeling pretty justified, first of all. Yeah, I kind of thought, like, yeah, I told you so, that was going to happen, right? So how can knowing that the Lord will fulfill his promise or his words to the prophets help you when someone ridicules or persecutes you or your standards and your beliefs? How can you use this in your own life is essentially what I'm asking you. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of the same thing where they knew that a sign would be given because it was given through God. And so even if people are ridiculing like our beliefs, we know it's still going to come to pass because we have our own faith.
Yeah. Yeah. So what does that mean we should do when people ridicule or persecute us? What was that, Jace?
Steadfast.
Remain steadfast, right? Yeah. All right. So let's read from 3 Nephi chapter 1, verses 16 through 18. Jason, will you start in verse 16? We'll go 17, 18 down to Joseph.
16.
Yeah, and I want you to look for how the wicked people responded when they saw this sign that had been prophesied of.
And there were many who had not believed the words of the prophets, who fell to the earth and became as if they were dead, for they knew that the great plan of destruction which they had laid for those who believed in the words of the prophets had been frustrated, for the sign which had been given was already at hand.
And he began to know that the Son of God must shortly appear, yea, in time. And all the people upon the face of the whole earth, from the west to the east, both in the land north and in the land south, were so exceedingly and astonished that they fell to the earth.
For they knew that the prophets had testified of these things for many years, and the sign which had been given was already at hand. And they began to fear because of their iniquity and their unbelief.
Okay, so what did the wicked know after the sign had been given? What did they come to learn?
We died.
We were wrong, right? They learned that they were wrong. So why do you think that this knowledge that the prophets had been correct all this time led them to fear, led the wicked to fear, or the unbelievers to fear? Yeah, Radley.
It's like they were so confident in what they thought was right, and seeing that they're like the complete opposite, the fear of the consequences.
Yeah, they're worried about the consequences, right? I'd be worried too. So let's read verses 22 and 23. So Alec, can you read 22, and then Jay, will you read 23? And I want you to look for what Satan did to persuade the people not to believe in these signs of the Lord's birth. Okay?